Bylaw Review Committee for April 29th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Sorry. I think I wrote wrong on the original agenda, but it was fixed on the posted. This is a full remote meeting. Roll call votes will be needed, and I'll take attendance. Matthew Clark.
Here.
Lisa Hilton.
Here.
Leanna Moore.
Here.
Ann Mazar.
Here.
Brendan Chanel.
Here.
And Carl, you're not a voting member, correct?
No, I'm attending as a citizen and a vice chair of the General Bylaws Review Committee.
Understood. Okay, I will turn it over to Gabe. Oh, sorry, actually, we have some meeting minutes. Do we want to approve those meeting minutes?
Do that.
Matt, you want to just review that real quick?
Yeah, I would, but my screen is locked up. I can't pull out.
Oh, okay, hang on a sec. I can pull. So we have meeting minutes, draft meeting minutes from April 15th, March 18th, April 1st, February 18th, and March 4th of 2025. Did everybody have a chance to review? Does anybody have any changes to those?
I have not had a chance to review, but if you give me 30 seconds, I can scroll through real quick.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just take, we'll just table it to the end, take a peek as we got time, and we'll take a motion just before we close out.
Perfect.
Gabe, go right ahead. We're going to discuss the sign bylaw and the marijuana bylaw edits.
Yes. Thanks everyone for coming tonight. Yeah, like Lonnie said, the first thing we're going to look at is the sign bylaw. So, and also Brendan provided some useful comments, which I will be including in the when I share my screen. I'm going to zoom in. I know usually I need to.
Just a note that the Teams has updated that. You can zoom in even further with your team screen if you didn't already know.
Oh, that'll be helpful. All right. So, and Dylan, feel free to chime in if you want. So honestly, the sign bylaw I think is pretty good. As far as I can tell, obviously there's room for improvement, but nothing stands out specifically in the sign bylaw that's egregious. I think just in talking with Dylan, there are just some areas where there might be specific circumstances in town that we might need to accommodate, that sort of thing that we'd like to get insight on. And we also probably want some clarity on how to treat certain types of signs. So the first thing is so I think the first thing, this comes up throughout the bylaw, and Brendan picked up on this in his comments. Throughout the bylaw, we reference that municipal signs are exempted from the bylaw. So I think we should probably have a discussion about how to approach that. I think it's really up to the committee how they want to treat that. But there might be circumstances where we want municipal signs or government, not, public signs to go to planning board. There might be no circumstances where that has to happen. I guess, Dylan, do you have any thoughts on this? I think that's like the main point of contention potentially, or.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say yet.
Okay.
Go for it. You're good. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, Brendan.
Yeah, the only thing I say, so as a sign, there are billboards defined in here. That includes mobile, so like mobile signs. I know for most town events and things that we're advertising, we actually use the flashing highway department signs, parked on the side of the road. And I think that is something that, in my opinion, should be exempt because it's not permanent, and we're using it to communicate, a town event or something, and then it goes away.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd say is that I think we want to make sure municipal signs are probably exempt, but we say it like 18 times in here.
Oh yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah, we might if we want to keep it exempt, but maybe keep it in one spot and not.
Yeah, it's more
Repeated.
confusing if you keep
Yeah.
hammering on it, I think.
Yeah.
Carl?
Yes, if you're going to make exemptions for municipal signs, you need to define what a municipal sign is, who approves it, the select board definitely. If the highway department and police public safety are able to do signs on their own, the Concom, for example, would probably need a select board if we wanted to put up a sign. So I think that would be something
There is a
to talk
definition.
about.
Yeah, so we have.
Oh, it was further down. I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can pull up the regular one on the website, that we can follow along. It won't have obviously these comments, but you'll see what already
Okay.
exists.
Yeah, Concom, we do put up signs around conservation easements, and Mazar and I work on those.
Mhm. So yeah, currently the definition of municipal sign is any sign used by the municipality as part of statutory requirements for the purpose of traffic direction, public safety, and/or emergency notifications, and approved by the Department of Public Safety or Highway Department, or for purposes of identifying municipal offices or functions. Municipal signs do not require permits. So
We could maybe broaden that a little bit. Also, advertising of town events would not be covered, currently in that definition.
okay.
So municipal functions wouldn't be included in that for events?
Yeah, I think under the current reading, if they put up, like
Functions,
Brendan
okay.
said,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I guess currently, because there's no requirement right now. It's identifying municipal offices or functions. I might change that to events. Functions doesn't. Carl.
Yeah, I have another question that might clarify things. Imperial Auto has these big trucks revolving on top of a lift. Is that considered a sign?
So we asked that question ourselves.
Oh, good. Okay.
I think that might be the edge case where we're gonna have to think about how to approach that with tact. But yeah, no, that we can get. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that today. I think, is everyone okay with me changing this to events? So basically, I just want to, so we can move forward from this. I think the idea is that municipal signs will be exempt, and we're just going to make sure it's not showing up in it. It's in almost every section of the sign bylaw that they're exempt. So we just want to include that at the beginning.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
In terms of what Carl kind of reminded me that, when we have open space, we do put signs up, and also we put border signs up.
Mhm.
So would that be exempt, or do we have to get approval every time we do that?
I mean, it's Carl who suggested approval, right? Right now, there's no approval.
But that would count as a municipal sign then?
I mean, can we make it so that municipal offices, as part of their normal functions, can, if it
Right.
includes a sign, can put it up? I don't know.
Maybe municipal offices, property, or events. I mean, but Concom deals with private, like conservation land, correct? Or no?
Conservation land is owned by the town.
Okay.
Yeah, usually owned by the town, or the conservation is owned,
And we have an
conservation
easement.
restrictions. Right. So I think if
Okay.
you added properties, that would cover it.
Okay.
Or,
I'm now looking at the actual bylaw. Does it say in here who the permitting authority is? Who issues the permit? Is it planning board, select board?
I believe
Public
it's
safety?
at the end and it's planning.
It's building department. first
Building,
of all.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
it's just a permit application.
So it doesn't have to go to a hearing, which is
There's
probably-
specific thing. I mean, like there's one that's ZBA because it's on Morrison Drive specifically for some reason. But not, I think planning's involved. There's one ZBA one that needs a special permit from them. I don't know why.
So yeah, we're gonna move all these definitions to the definition section eventually. The other thing we introduce in the definition section is the concept of a clear view triangle. So this is intended to prevent, for public safety purposes, prevent the construction of a sign that will obstruct the sight lines on an intersection. So as the clear view triangle definition reads, and this is used in Paxton and West Brookfield as well, but we can talk about I mean, Jane, if you have any thoughts on what number to set for that, I would appreciate that. But it's defined as an area of unobstructed vision at intersections and where driveways intersect with streets or in medians of a divided driveway. The clear view triangle extends 30 feet from the point of intersection along the street, the drive aisle, and the median. And then you basically don't allow signs besides, street signs to be built, or, municipal signs to be built in that clear view triangle, so that you don't have a private business blocking an intersection sight line with a big sign. Do we
If
have thoughts
anybody
on?
would like to see a graphic of that,
Oh,
I
yeah.
can put that in the chat. If that would be helpful.
If you have one handy, that sure, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
There you
It'd be
go.
worth it.
Some communities do it with 25 feet from the intersection. Some do it 30 feet. It's a matter of what this town feels is most appropriate. And I've also seen it applied to vegetation where vegetation can be below 3 feet or above 8 feet. If it's a tree, then your branches would start at 8 feet, just so that that window of 3 feet to 8 feet above ground is clear for motorists to see.
Yeah, I don't, in my town, we can't have any structures at all besides
Oh, okay.
vegetation. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm on the corner.
Carl?
Yeah, my concern, now I'm speaking as a citizen, if you're going to restrict vegetation, then you're getting into a public taking of private land. If you're asking me as a homeowner to cut down something, it might make sense to tie this in with the speed limit on the roads. If the generic speed limit is 30, you might want to say you have to have a certain footage. If it's like 45 miles an hour, then you might go for the full. But my road where people crawl along at 10 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this
I
is
think for now,
this is
we're-
a dimensional requirements issue, so not a sign issue. We can definitely consider it if we're looking at dimensional requirements later.
Yeah, but this is more for signage specifically. I think Jane was just providing an example.
And it pertains more to new development and not putting any new signs in that area. It's not existing residential lots.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so then going to the billboard definition. Oh, Anne, before we move on.
Oh, I just have a question on, like, the town has that rolling flashing sign or whatever that like they use for emergencies. Can a business use a sign like that, or is that not included in here? Because I'd rather them not,
Yeah, that's another thing we want to talk about. I think later on we get to that. There is a section on illuminated signs, and then we also talk about, well, we don't talk about it yet, but I would recommend, or I think you could entertain a ban on what we call, electronic message boards, maybe exempting municipal uses so that businesses aren't building. In my experience, most towns like Mendon consider those a nuisance. Any sort of animated LED sign, that sort of thing, it's kind of, they're kind of unpredictable how people react to them. And unless you have a highway district, I don't really see the downside in restricting those. But there's no definition of that yet, I don't believe. But it's something, if the committee is interested in banning them, definitely on the table. I think so I want to get back to this question about signs on trucks. So currently, as billboard reads, any object, structure, design, or device, portable or stationary, permanent or temporary, placed on, located outside, intended for public view, used to advertise, announce, or direct attention to any off-premises business, organization, product, activity, service, or event, excluding municipal, state, and other government agency signs. So right now so in this case we're talking about, if I'm understanding it correctly, there's a business that has 18 wheelers with signs on the container, and they use that to advertise on premises. Okay. Yeah, I don't Dylan, if you're there, if you have any thoughts on how to approach this.
That's the thing. I was hoping we could get some. It needs
So
to
we're talking
change
about,
the way we
you're
read
talking
it.
about specifically talking specifically about the trailers now?
So we get a lot of like people will put a billboard on a trailer and try to get away with that instead. I know we have here like temporary billboard, but for some reason the ones on wheels, the building department has trouble dealing with them.
Well, so I mean, it comes down to, okay, so say it's a Swift truck, right, that has
Mhm.
this company name Swift on it,
Right.
and they
That's
park their
fine,
trailer
right?
in a yard. That's still advertising. What are we going to tell them they can't do
Right,
that?
that's the
And
thing.
if
We don't
Right.
want to stop that, but we also
Right.
don't want to
Right.
end up with the signs that block the whole building. I know we've had that issue.
that block the whole building.
We've had like, I don't know which one it was. I mean, it's not a problem to me. It's a problem to other people.
No, but I understand. But we also have to, at some point, if the who are we to say what goes on the trailer? Whether it's Swift
Right.
or it says Imperial Cars or it says
Right,
Continuous Trucking.
if it's their business and that's the business they have, then they should have a sign permit for that. It's not about somebody parking their truck in their parking lot. It's about you're on the business's property. You put a truck out there so that you don't have to get a sign permit.
So
Okay, but who, again, how do you enforce what's written? I mean,
That's
it
the
becomes
question.
freedom of speech at some point. No? Or freedom of expression, if it's painted of some sort? I mean, at what
Well, that would
point
be
are
any
we?
sign. That would be the argument for permitting any sign.
Well, there is an
No.
argument for it.
Yeah,
There's also a
absolutely.
big argument about sign bylaws in general.
Mhm.
Not
agree.
being even enforceable, but again,
The
I don't
situ-
know.
it's hard to distinguish between something that looks nice or doesn't look nice. You know, if it's portable or stationary, it falls under
Mhm.
billboard, right?
And who gets to make the determination?
Yeah, there's no criteria. You can't
The building
possibly
commission.
make anything objective.
Carl.
Yeah, 2
And then
points.
Anne.
The word off premises is very
Mhm.
key and crucial.
Yeah.
If I have a sign advertising somebody else's business and it's there for more than one day, the building permit or other authority who enforces the zoning code would say, that looks an awful lot like an off premises sign. Do something about it. In terms of somebody having their own truck and displaying it on their lot, I believe the relevant thing is if it's on a vehicle, are they going to drive around town and use it for daily use? For example, lots of people take cars or pickup trucks and they wrap them and they have gorgeous looking posters and billboards and things. I would not consider that a sign because it is used as they drive around with it. If there's a derelict 18-wheel trailer container sitting there and it hasn't moved in 10 months, I would say that's no longer a useful thing that goes on and off. That's now become a billboard. But if it's mobile, if they drive it around, that's not a sign. That's part of their business branding.
But 18-wheel trailers can sit. I have 18-wheel trailers in my lot that have been there for 20 years. So again, if it says Swift or it says business name number 2 on the side of it and it happens to be parked where somebody can see it, just because you're not using the trailer does not mean. Look, I understand what we're getting at here, but this is toting a fine line, and again, highly unenforceable. Like, how do you prove that? Unless it says I'm doing this for this reason. Like,
This is a
it's
topic that I think that it would be great if we had a building commissioner available to communicate issues with us instead of us not knowing exactly what he might have issue
sure.
with.
So why don't we invite John? Sorry, Ann, I keep jumping in. Go ahead, Ann. Go ahead.
No, I was thinking sort of along the lines that Carl was saying, that if you purposefully put a truck that you're just not using as a sign, you know, that it's just sitting there.
Who is
That's
to
all.
determine if you parked it there that was intended for that? Like, how do you prove that though? Like you just, oh, I don't like that you parked your trailer in the front of the lot now because it has the name of the company on it. You have to hide it out back. Like what?
Persistence.
Sorry?
Persistence. If it happens every day, all day.
No, but who are we to say where they can park their trailer on their property? This is getting into very, very specific people's rights. And who are we to say? Who am I to say? What are you to say? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it doesn't, we cannot, it is unpoliceable. You can't tell somebody they can't park their trailer there, and if they put the name of their company on that trailer, again, it's just like Swift. If okay, you have a Swift truck that's parked that you parked it in the yard, you have to have them take the name Swift off it because you might be storing something in that trailer for 2 years, and it doesn't move.
Whatever gets written has to be something that is content neutral and easily enforceable. And that's why I agree, maybe we want to have the person who would do the enforcement. Same way, when we have an issue, the GBRC, we're bringing in the police chief and saying, okay, what are you comfortable enforcing?
Yeah, we could definitely ask John Erickson to come to the next meeting if we want to talk more about this. But I will tell you, John is very against sign bylaws and has a huge argument about how they are unenforceable. So actually, it might be great to have him.
Yeah, I think we just wanted to bring this forward because it sounds like it's a recurring problem, and I think getting clarity on whether the town can actually enforce that, I think, is helpful going forward, so that maybe people can move on, but will they? So we can. Oh, Brendan.
And kind of on a related topic, and I don't mean to beleaguer this a little bit, but are we also saying that, so say you live at the end of a road and have a home occupation, you want to advertise your home occupation at someone else's property, like, hey, down this road is this lawyer, and you get a sign. Are we saying that that's not allowed either because it's an off-premises billboard essentially without a permit?
I think we get into how we treat billboards. This is just the definition section.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can get into that. I think that's worth thinking about.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know some places have a blanket ban on billboards, but I think there's a distinction between a giant billboard on the side of a highway and what you're describing, which is a sign for a business that's down the road, within certain dimensions. So I'm gonna move on from this a little bit. So on building sign, we have the definition: a sign that is affixed to the facade or roof of a building or structure, including window areas, so that all sign surfaces are parallel to the building on which the sign is mounted. And then Brendan pointed out that a strict reading of this would exclude signs that are angled downwards via a mounting bracket for ease of viewing, suggests removing. Yeah, I think
just the parallel nature. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not going to get out there with a square and see.
Yeah. We can just strike that. I think that makes sense. Jean?
Could it be that the parallel is supposed to imply that it's flush against the surface of the building and not extending outward?
Yeah, that's
kind of like a marquee sign on a theater.
Yeah, could be.
That's the way it reads, right?
Well, I mean,
Right
you
now
could
it
have
reads that
extend like
the
5 feet
the
up.
surface, like you have the building and you have the sign, and it has to be parallel to the building. I mean, if you had, let's say you had like a roof. Sorry, if people want to see me on camera doing this, I'm making hand motions. If you had, like, let's say you had a slanted roof and you wanted a sign here for whatever reason, it would have to be like that.
Yeah, technically
like,
parallel means
it could be facing. If we're talking about parallel to the building,
parallel
it
doesn't
could
mean
be
affixed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's an
I-
issue with this word.
Yeah, I think strictly reading it's not really what we were going for. In my
And also,
opinion.
if it was affixed to the roof, let's say you have the building, you have the roof, and you have the sign, what's parallel to the building? Because you have two different, you could have the sign facing down and facing the ground, or you could have it. So,
You could have a building with sloped walls. Yeah, it's
right.
not. It's silly.
Yeah, and it's just a a definition. We're not trying to restrict what angle you can put your sign at, right? We're just trying to say
Yeah.
that, hey, a sign on a building is a building sign.
Mhm.
Yeah. So should we just strike this? I feel like this language overcomplicates it, unless there's been a problem with wacky angled signs. Right? Yeah, so we have, sorry, Carl, where is the is the home occupation sign a definition you're proposing, or is that elsewhere in
No,
the
that's
file?
language in section E.
I think he was
Oh,
just answering a question I had, but I think we can talk about it more when we get to it.
okay. Thank you. So then we have administration. So we proposed a couple of just basically right now the bylaw reads that owners of signs found to be in violation of this bylaw shall be subject to a fine of $25 per day. We think we should just change that to as specified in the general bylaws. I'm not comfortable assigning dollar amounts in a zoning bylaw because changing a zoning bylaw is a pain, and you don't want to be updating that every couple of years for, if you can help it. Brendan had the comment, I'd like to discuss how to make sure these stay up to date. It's probably not the place for it in this bylaw, but this schedule of fees hasn't been updated since 2013. Carl, you have a comment?
Why, yes, I can speak as vice chair of the GBRC. We have raised this as an issue and talked with Jeremy and the select board about it. At a future town meeting, we will come up with a way to move. We are discussing how to do this. My recommendation is that we take all numerical fees out of the bylaws for the reason you just said, and instead they would be put in regulations which can be adjusted by the select board or other controlling authority. So general bylaws or town regulations or whatever the appropriate way is to talk about the stuff that the select board can change.
Okay.
Also, in general, I mentioned it to Brendan earlier today, but we have schedules of fees in each department as well, and we're going to work on those next year separately. But it would be good to talk with the select board about that.
My favorite is a bylaw that was created in 1960 with a fee, municipal department leads can delete up to $25 of surplus equipment. Yeah, we're going to raise that to like 500.
The fee is only a nickel. So the next thing we did is just for freestanding signs and building signs. We broke these up so that they reflect how the illuminated signs was broken up, just so that we have multiple lines for each sentence. One freestanding sign, we changed it. So such sign shall not be within any right of way and shall be set back at least 10 feet from the edge of the pavement. We changed that to property line. Again, edge of pavement, I don't know what that means. Is that that could include the sidewalk? And then we added that freestanding signs shall not be located in a clear view triangle. Sorry?
Does the so from property line, how does that work with the public right of way? Like, where's the property line defined? At the end of the the edge of the right of way? say it's like right up against the road.
Yeah, right of way might make more sense.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any thoughts on that?
And I'm
Changing
just
prop-
asking because I bet that more signs are closer than 10 feet from,
Yeah,
and the right of way.
yeah. Dylan, what do you think?
Mine is property line. I'm just thinking of my town, like my lawn extends 13 feet there's a right of way, right? And it looks like it's my lawn. So a lot of people would think that it's 10 feet from the pavement when that's not even my property. So I don't know if we want to just change the 10 or we want to, because I think property line is the one thing that they should know, especially business should know where their property line is. Do we want to change 10 feet? We can't put signs off of their property.
If I change 10, oh, Carl, you're muted.
What's the intent? Is this for traffic safety or is it
Yes.
for unsightly visibility while you're driving down the road?
Traffic.
Then say, no, you can't do it within 10 feet of the right of way. And that way, if the town owns 13 feet, well, if they set it right on their property line, they're 13 feet away and they're okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So once again, who's going to go measure this? We're going to have to hire an engineer.
Will be for a new
the
sign.
right of way changes along the roads at all times.
I mean, it would be for a new sign. So
Yeah, no existing signs would change.
Fair enough.
yeah. I mean, it's the same with the truck question. I mean, we wouldn't be going in and putting in something like that, imposing something on an existing use.
But yeah, again, the truck thing is totally different. Trucks come and
Yeah.
go.
No, I know.
I put a language in the chat that's shorter.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Carl. And then moving on, for building signs, we added some language. So we have this clause: the total sign area of all signs on a building may not exceed 1 square foot for each linear foot of building frontage facing a public street displaying such sign. So as it just read building frontage facing a public street, which if you had a corner lot would encompass the entire 2 walls. We think it should be specific to whatever wall is displaying the building sign. So that's a typo. Brendan, so then moving on to illuminated signs. Oh, Carl.
Yeah,
Sorry.
if you scroll back up, is linear foot a term of art? And what does, and likewise, you're saying front if on a corner lot, which is my front. But if I have doors on both roads?
It would be the frontage that's showing the sign. So I think linear foot is in there to distinguish from square. So you have the sign is measured in square feet. We are translating that to, I mean, this is just how it was written. We can always change this, but the idea is that you have the length of the building frontage. Let's say you have a 30-foot building frontage. You are limited to a 30 square foot sign on the building. On the wall that is facing the public way and displaying the sign if you wanted to put a sign on the other corner of the building and it was 25 feet, you couldn't exceed 25 square feet of sign area. And I mean, I'm not married to that those controls, but I think it's a pretty straightforward way to make it proportional to the size of the building.
As long as your definition and what your explanation was matches John Erickson's. Because he needs to be able to explain to a business owner what
Yeah.
that means. And if his
Right.
explanation is different from yours, then it's
Yeah.
ambiguous.
Yeah. Yeah, we can definitely talk to him about go through this again with him. Moving on. So then for illuminated signs, we added some so the main changes we made, what we have heard is that there's an issue with sign brightness and light brightness in the town. So a lot of towns have a regulation on illuminated signs where you it's honestly can get pretty complicated. But it's with the intention of, reducing light pollution, where you basically limit the amount of brightness that certain lights and signs can have. I think you already have this question of, we have two things. The light from any sign shall be at a sufficiently low level of intensity that it shall not adversely affect neighboring premises, reflect or shine on lots used for residential purposes, nor impair the safe vision of operators of vehicles moving on public roadways. And then exterior illumination shall be stationary, shielded, white light directed downward or horizontally, but not upward and solely at the sign. So that limits, I think, some of the big problems with light pollution. What we recommended was limiting the illumination you can measure the sort of color of the light in kelvins. That's like the industry standard for the tone of the light. So we wanted to limit that to soft white light, so you don't have, if anyone has had the pleasure of driving in front of a truck with new LED lights, we don't want those really bright blue lights shining onto, creating more light pollution. So the soft white lights will help reduce that. And then looking at it says signs may be illuminated until 10 p.m. or end of daily operating hours, whichever occurs later. I think at the same time, if you have a 24-hour business, we wanted to ensure that light, again, we're reducing the intensity of the light at night, because obviously during the day, a lit sign needs more brightness to be seen. At night, it needs less brightness to be seen, and we want to eliminate or reduce light pollution and adverse impact. Anne? You're muted.
Sorry, that kept on covering up the microphone thing. So having the lights turn off at 10 or whenever your business ends at night,
Yeah.
is that also only for new businesses or is that for everyone?
I'm not sure how that would get enforced. I think the idea is that if you were going for a new illuminated sign, you would have to ensure that it can satisfy that. I think for existing signs, I think if we're looking at enforcing that, I mean, Dylan, it might be a question for general bylaws.
Right.
Carl?
If you're going to have town meeting approve a bylaw change, you had better explicitly say whether it's grandfathering or not, and give a justification if you are grandfathering.
Yeah, I mean, for zoning, you
Zoning
can't
bylaws.
grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything for zoning only applies to new construction, new development, new thing.
Okay.
So there's not a way to apply, for any zoning change, you can't, we're not going to go and tear down a sign.
Okay, I learned something new tonight.
I always forget that's like, a core thing. Yeah, so we can also specify lumens. I can do, since we're going to be revisiting this with the building commissioner, I can look into what the lumen requirements are. I was just trying to get. I'm glad people are in favor of this. It was more just to get this on the table that we're looking at the brightness. I think I would like to ideally incorporate both. Just once you get into measuring lumens, it gets a little bit more complicated. Yeah, I think. Sorry.
I'm looking at other parts that talk about illumination in the bylaws, and they talk about foot candles. So
Yeah.
you'd want to update those to use whatever the current jargon is.
Foot candles is still used, and it has some sort of pretty direct relationship with lumens. But we can certainly the Kelvin rating of 4500 is about sunlight, and then 3000 or lower is sort of the recommended nighttime light temperature from the dark sky organizations. But we can put together lumen regs too.
Yeah, the Kelvins, I think, is a good idea.
Yeah, I would tend to agree.
They're two different things. One of them is how bright it is. The other one is how blaring and what.
Yeah,
right.
How harsh.
It's like the difference between an incandescent and a fluorescent light.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we can certainly elaborate.
Did we
we'll
have a
put that in.
discussion, Gabe, about the white light itself and LEDs and things like that? Are we limiting ourselves to white light for exterior and internally illuminated?
We did talk a bit about maybe something more like a high pressure sodium that has more of an amber tint or a yellowish glow.
Yeah.
My assumption is that people don't often use those anymore, but I don't know if we're
LEDs.
LEDs though.
But LEDs are more controllable, is in reading about this. I think you
But
would.
What if they want to use a green LED behind a gel or something? I don't know.
I mean, that's up to the aesthetics of the town and what they want to allow. I would tend towards.
Are we okay with just white light for all illumination, or does that limit some people's signs in a way that we don't want? That's what I just want to ask the group.
Yeah.
Neon is prohibited for gas stations, but I'm not seeing anything for other businesses.
Yeah.
It's not it doesn't say a private business can't use neon signs, or unless there's something that doesn't refer to the word neon.
Lonnie?
You're muted.
When we're talking about neon, what are we talking about? Like the neon signs, like you would like
the tubes
with the tube ones.
Tubes.
That would be actual neon. Yeah.
Yeah. How and why do we not allow them?
I think that's the question.
That's the question.
Because people don't think they're classy. I think or something like that. It's
probably.
I mean,
it's so funny though, but they're so nostalgic
you could
at this
get one
point.
that looks tubey, but it's LED lit.
Oh, true.
Right.
Yeah,
that's the way around it.
I think there's also a pollution question because they use weird gases, and if they broke, I think that.
I mean, it's literally.
Oh, right. So if
gas.
Again, is it right? And I think that was my question more. Is it due to if it broke, that it's somewhat hazardous, and would an LED style in that style just look again nostalgic? People, things make turnarounds, and again, who's the picker of what is, in other words, still in classy? Like who gets to pick that? Like some people may like it, some people may not. I don't know. I get these are such tough areas. Sorry.
You're right.
Yeah.
So if we're saying white light for these, I mean that excludes a lot of neon style or neon signs as well.
Yeah, and that's what it read originally, so I was trying to keep in the spirit of that.
Yeah.
I
just wanted to bring it up and see what people felt.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to say that, like, who's who to decide on that kind of thing. It's very on the aesthetics. We have design guidelines, and those are guidelines. They're not bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want that sort of thing to be a design guideline rather than a bylaw, or do we want it to be an actual zoning bylaw about what chemical your light can be? Well, what kind of light you're using and what color that light is, especially in the modern era where things are changing.
Are the kelvins only measured in the white light, or are
I believe so. In all the references I read, it was about sort of the color temperature of the white light. You know, from like a, you know, again, like a soft yellow red light to a bright blue green light.
Mhm.
I mean, if we wanted to, I mean, I have two thoughts on this. I mean, we're talking about an internally illuminated sign.
Mhm.
It is not, I don't know why an internally illuminated sign would need a colored bulb.
No,
If we're talking about the
there's just
bulb,
above it. C is white light. Yeah.
right? Oh, I see, exterior illumination, right?
Yeah.
When you're
Yeah.
looking
For
at,
internally illuminated, they wouldn't need anything other than white light.
yeah, and if you're thinking about something like a Dunkin' Donuts or something, it's like orange and pink piece of plastic.
Yeah.
I put a definition in chat.
Yeah, thank you. Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, it's a question for the committee. The thing with the lighting rules. Oh, thank you, Jane. Bye.
Bye.
The thing with the lighting rules is they can get very complicated very quick. And it's really, I'm happy to make this more complicated and make it more precise, but
Keep
you know,
it simple here, right?
Yeah. Does the
yeah,
group want it more precise or does the group want it less precise?
I think we should keep it a little bit, loose, and because there's so many angles to this white light behind a, blue thing. Is that a blue light?
I think it's a good idea to follow some sort of dark sky guidelines in general, but
sure.
that doesn't mean we have to like.
Isn't it dark
Well-
sky compliant or something? Isn't that a term?
Yes.
Mhm.
what if you
And
just say
using-
something like, if white light is used, and then talk about the kelvins? Because I do think it would be nice, a good idea, not to have those bright lights that are blinding, you know?
Yeah.
right.
I mean,
But-
even for safety on the road, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But then it's not
So-
excluding colored lights or, you know, other types of lights.
Okay, so just to, yeah. So I think that thank you, Carl. The dark sky thing, I think it's already pretty much addressed by C.
Yeah.
So that exterior illumination has to be shielded. You could add something about signs needing like a facade, I guess, but that seems like I don't know.
I'm happy with what we have for C&D right now. I just wanted to bring everything, bring this
Yeah.
all to you guys. But if you guys
I'm
are
happy.
also cool
I'm
with what we
hap-
have now,
Yeah. I'm happy to adjust the language so that it doesn't exclude other colors of light and kind of specifies this so two things. Changing it so that it's a little broader and doesn't exclude other colors of light. And then also maintaining the Kelvin stuff for white light specifically. And then I can also look into adding a lumen specification because I think that would cover issues with any sort of light that we don't want it too bright.
Yeah, agree.
Okay, so I'm going to include non-white light sources by Kelvin rating for white lights and include lumen rules for all light sources. So that's something we can do for the next meeting.
Should signs be IDA approved?
I mean, I think it's the same with the fee schedule. I think if we reference an external rule, that makes everyone's life easier because as things change, we aren't the ones who have to change it. It can be the Dark Sky Association has that covered, and we can defer to them. I think that's a good idea. Liana and then Brendan.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, is there any general language in the sign bylaw that says, basically that signs will, match the nature and character of the surrounding area or anything like that? Where would something like that? Because again, I don't care about the color of lights per se, but I can also see that maybe in certain areas it may maybe hit you in the face more than other areas. Like maybe in a historic district, you don't want I don't know,
Yeah.
neon light.
I
I don't
mean,
know, just throwing that out there.
as it is now, we only allow illuminated signs in the business district. And Brendan highlighted that maybe we could have a difference between general and highway business.
Just a question on whether that not we wanted.
Yeah. But that might make that delineation easier. Brendan, do you have something else to say?
I was just saying that if we require the IDA seal of approval, that's an external third-party test. So that will limit you to something that's pre-made. So you won't be able to hire a craftsman to make you a sign. You'll have to buy like a housing or something. Just highlighting that as maybe unintended consequence if we require that.
Yeah.
There are
All right.
numerous places where you do talk about character and compatibility that are not directly in the sign.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's going to be very subjective, and you want to find out what the code enforcement officer is willing to put up with.
Yeah.
Because it's the fastest way to get a court challenge is if someone makes a subjective decision.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, wouldn't this happen at the time you're issuing the permit itself? So it's not really subjective. If they're doing something other than what their permit has said or their design for the permit has said, wouldn't that be what you're enforcing against?
Then the ZBA or the planning board gets sued. Either way, someone says you're discriminating against me on the basis of my content and the fact that I'm doing this business instead of some other business.
I'm more talking about lighting and other aesthetic things, right? What is the difference between that and saying your fence has to be compatible with the scenic character? Or are you saying just in general, anything that says you have to do X, Y, and Z compatible with the surrounding would be challenging?
So Carl, the language you pulled, is that from the design guidelines?
I'm just searching for the word compatibility in the bylaws, so you could do the same thing. And to address your other issue, think of the most contentious building in town, the marijuana store or the adult entertainment thing. Anything that we try and do that would impact their business, we have to be sensitive to. What would they take to court? But what language would we codify that then they would be able to point to and say, this is discriminatory? So that's why New England character, it's subjective. You have to be very careful about something like that.
So I think the language we're looking at. So yeah, we have that's in motor vehicle service station, and then I believe also wireless towers is where that other wireless communications facilities.
And for wireless towers, they have an industry standard, I expect, where, how do you make something look like a evergreen tree?
Right. Liana and then Lonnie.
No, I don't know why my hand is still up. I just forgot to put it down. Thank you.
Okay. Lonnie.
Yeah, sorry. So again, why are we calling out specific businesses like the service stations?
That's in a different part of the bylaw.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that wasn't really going to be covered today.
I wrote that as an example of how certain parts of the bylaw say specific things.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. Thanks, Carl.
Yeah. I mean, so I think the idea with the sign bylaw, we want it to be objective. We obviously can't regulate content. We have a change to the marijuana bylaws that tries to address that as well. It eliminates language in the marijuana bylaw that just says something about controlling signs specifically for marijuana businesses, which is clearly not kosher. I think when we're looking at the sign illumination, I think we want measurable standards that we can set. And I think I think we can try to. What I will do, like I said earlier, I want to basically do something that is parallel to what is in the Dark Sky Association guidelines. I think Brendan's right. If we reference an external thing, we might be limiting applicants to specific. You have to buy this type of sign from this company, rather than, here's what the town wants, which is kind of aligned with that. I'm going to revisit this section, and bring, like I said, add stuff about lumens, and that sort of thing. So what else did we? Okay, so I just want to close out this section. I think we're going to have to revisit this eventually. So we have residential district permanent signs, home occupation signs. Permitted home occupations have one non-illuminated sign not to exceed 2 square feet in total area, no permit required. Brendan made the point that some home occupations are allowed by right. Should we clarify here? Yeah, I would change this to allowed home occupations. Dylan? I know Dylan hates when we confuse permit with permitted.
Yeah.
I think changing that to allowed would
Yeah,
would
you
solve
don't want
that.
it to look like it's a home occupation that has a permit.
Right.
Yep. There's another
Carl?
one of those in there too.
Yeah.
Jumping back to the previous conversation, there already is language that requires signs to meet specific regulatory or third-party industry requirements. So if you say just had and the what the other standards are you want them to adhere to.
Yeah, that would simplify it, and we could eliminate the Kelvin and lumen and
You say
having to
you
define all that.
you must meet the dark sky requirement.
Do people have issue with adding that on G?
I'm okay
think-
with it as long as that's what we're
Yeah, I
intending
think
to do.
that's
And that makes
Okay.
sense.
And I think then we don't have to keep talking about illuminated stuff.
yeah. I think that's consistent with some other towns.
Okay. And the okay. Moving on. Eventually I need to wrap my head around all the different lumens and kelvins and foot candles. So we moved temporary sign regulations up. They were in their own section, but we thought it should be included in just included in this all districts, temporary signs to be allowed. It was at the bottom of that section, so we moved it up. I think we wanted to, so in most towns, I think we discussed this at a recent meeting. The temporary signs come up because of political signs. I think recently, perhaps potential, political signs that might have language people don't approve of. And I think we still want to allow, obviously we can't prohibit political signs based on their messaging, but we also want to allow people to do yard signs for elections. So I think the last set of language for that said temporary signs may be displayed for 30 days prior to an event and must be removed within 5 days after the event. I think it makes sense to extend that to 90 days if we're looking at a political sign. I think that's reasonable, 3 months. And then I think instead of 5 days after the event, 10 days after the event, that gets us to around 100 days. And that a sign displayed for more than 100 days in a calendar year must meet the applicable permanent sign requirements.
And then what I mentioned with this was, I know at least one of the ones that people have talked to me about, and I tell them, no, it's constitutionally, I'm not touching that. I think it was a flag with words on it. So I don't know, I really don't know how to address that in here, but it was a political flag with the F word on it. So I don't know what to do. It's free speech. So we can't just say
Yeah.
like no F word, but like I know that was sort of the situation with temporary signs and saying like you could have your F word up for 90 days. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not comfortable with regulating content of
No,
flags.
exactly.
I think
That's the thing. Flags are just such a separate issue that I don't want to like touch that.
yeah.
But I just want to make sure we say it out loud here that like flags are a special thing and they're different. We don't know how to.
Like an exception for flags. Carl?
Yeah, that's the way it is.
I think you may want to consider saying that political signs are not considered temporary signs, that their own special entity, and that way you don't have to change the date limits for political signs. You could keep temporary signs at what it is now, and then have a different section saying here are the restrictions on timing for political signs. And I'm pretty sure the answer from town council is going to be unlimited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do we want to maintain these? There's like some dimensional regulations for political signs. Do we want to maintain that or eliminate that?
You could keep them out of the clear triangle. I don't think you can do anything else.
And even with, I mean, most lawn signs, I don't even think would affect when we're talking about the actual safety of the clear view triangle. Most lawn signs are not going to be those, like the vinyl lawn signs wouldn't even be in the line of sight for most drivers. All right, so Carl is recommending we basically change the temporary sign thing back to 30 and 5 for temporary signs, which would include stuff like yard sales, events. And then for political signs, we basically, I mean, I don't think we need to have a time limit on political signs. I would say just, I would maybe just eliminate this language. So political signs may not exceed 1 sign per candidate. No political sign shall exceed 3 square feet in area. No political sign shall be more than 4 feet in height above the ground. So get rid of those dimensional requirements and maybe add language that says political signs are distinct from temporary signs.
Wouldn't you
So-
just move the political signs above the temporary signs language so there's no confusion?
I mean, we could put them in a different section. I would still probably include, because this is stuff that's allowed in residential and commercial districts. So I would keep it in this section. I think we still could include this in the temporary sign section just so people, I think that might be more clear that we're kind of defining them next to each other, because that's kind of the distinction we're looking at. Carl?
How do people feel about religious signs, and should they be carved out the same as political? For example, every time I'm coming home from Hopedale, I drive by someone, they have religious scripture sign up on their lawn.
I think it's the same. It's the same First Amendment situation. We don't want to be.
So do you want to, instead of political signs, saying signs protected by the First Amendment?
We could.
So every sign.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically non-commercial signs is what we're looking at.
So
Yeah, that's the thing,
language then.
non-commercial. Yeah.
Okay, then is there a way in a definition section do you define commercial versus non-commercial?
Yeah. And I think that's. How do people feel about this?
I think I'd rather have 2 call outs for political and religious signs personally versus conflating them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and
Yeah,
how, like,
Touch the religious one.
sorry, Matthew?
Yeah, I think that's opened up a can of worms to get into the religious stuff. If we'd stick with the political signs and in the temporary signs as 2 separate definitions,
Mhm.
that covers quite a bit.
Yeah.
Better that I bring it up, open the can here than someplace else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was saying call it out as something that's protected, similar to political signs, not that we were going to try to regulate it.
Yeah.
Sure.
And First Amendment is no good. Someone may want to say something about freedom to own guns.
Yeah. Oh, and then there's another question. So currently it says political signs may not be placed on a public way or on public property. Signs may be placed on private property only with the consent of the property owner. I think the question about public way or public property is not a zoning question. That seems to me like a general bylaws question. No one is going to be checking the zoning bylaws for when they stick a political sign in a median. So I mean, I'm happy to keep in the language, but I think that is something that if that's not in the general bylaws, then it's not, to my mind, it's not, if the town wants justification to take down signs that have been put up on public land, I mean,
Yes,
I
the
don't think-
police chief will not touch them right now because there's nothing authorizing him to remove somebody else.
Yeah.
Someone doing
Yeah,
that.
so I think that would be a general bylaw thing if you want
Mhm.
that.
yeah, I would agree. I do think it's important for us to have that power, though. If someone just spams the whole town with things on public land.
Okay,
Yeah.
then Brendan, can you add that to, send an email to me and Tom saying you want us to bring that up because we pay attention to select board requests.
Yeah, I can take that action. Refer it from this board to that board. Yeah, for sure.
We'll just be tossing things back and forth.
So then Brendan had another comment for special event signs for charitable or school events may be permitted. Yeah, I would change that to allowed.
It may be allowed or they
Spons-
are allowed.
Are allowed.
Yeah.
They are, okay. So it's not on.
Sponsors are allowed advertising space up to 20% of the sign area to be located at the bottom of the sign.
It's pretty prescriptive there.
Yeah, I would eliminate. I mean,
Yeah, I wouldn't. They're sponsors. I don't think you need that, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't really.
Again, if someone wants to put up an egregious sign with advertising, they're not checking. We're looking at not. I hate to say like bad faith actor or something like that, but like if they're gonna pull a stunt where they have a sign for I don't know, a car wash for the high school, but then make most of the sign an advertisement for something else, I don't think they're going to be looking at zoning. So, okay, I will eliminate that. So, prohibitions, no sign may be affixed upon a utility pole. Oh, Carl again?
Yeah, subsection I, banner sign. Is banner sign defined someplace?
I believe so.
Yes, it's the
Yeah,
first
banner.
definition in the
Okay.
sign.
Banners, yeah.
Banner signs may be
Higher up, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Way
So we
up here.
have
It's banner.
Yeah, a sign of a material that is affixed to one or more edges or corners of any surface, including but not limited to building, pole, tree, or fence.
Okay, because I'm not finding it in the one online. I'm not finding that definition.
Which one did you search for? Because I found an issue recently where there's an old zoning bylaw still on the website.
Well, then it's coming right from the zoning. Here's the link, and I will go backwards, and it is coming from your planning board page.
Lovely.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So now you have an action item to update your.
Matthew, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, just want to make sure we get the acceptance of the minutes in before the meeting ends.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So we will be coming back to this. I think, Dylan, we should reach out to the building commissioner and either so just before we move on, the next, I think, because Dylan, you have a town meeting on the 13th that you have to
Yeah.
attend.
Yeah.
So I think we're looking at the 20th for the next meeting of this committee, which I know is a little bit off. So maybe it would make more sense, Dylan, if we arranged a meeting between staff and the building commissioner to talk about the sign bylaw, and can maybe bring a revised sign bylaw with his notes to the next meeting of this committee. And if he wants to attend, he can. But let's just like get the actual conversation out of the way.
Yep.
And then I think the only other thing I'll say about the sign bylaw conversation is we did eliminate some language in the marijuana bylaw that is in this version of the document that was sent out to everyone. Basically, it banned some type of sign for specifically marijuana dispensaries, which again is totally is not constitutional. And then Dylan will also be sending out. Dylan, did you add that upland language to the
I
open
did.
space?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we also added some language to the open space bylaw, and Dylan, if you want to get
I can
that out
send-
to the
yeah, I'll send that out.
committee,
Yep.
but it's like a sentence.
It
So
is.
now we can thank you everyone for your patience. This is sign bylaws always end up being more complicated than you'd think.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do the meeting minutes, and then we can
Okay.
meet in a couple weeks.
Lonnie, you there?
Yes,
Uh,
sorry.
did everybody have a chance to review the minutes now? Any questions?
Yeah, any changes to those, or if we're good, then Matt, if you want to go ahead and make a motion for all those dates.
Sure. Make a motion that we accept the minutes as written for the meetings dated March 4th, 2025, February 18th, 2025, April 1st, 2025, April 15th, 2025, and March 18th, 2025.
Excellent. Can I get a second?
Second,
Okay. All those in favor, roll call vote. Tenio, I. Liana,
aye.
Matthew Clark,
Aye.
Lisa Hilton,
Aye.
Ann Mazar. You were muted in.
Aye.
Thank you. Brennan Chanel.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Any other business? Do we want to set another date just in two weeks from now, I'm assuming?
So yeah, we'll be meeting on the 20th because the 13th Dylan's not available.
That's fine. And Gabe, you'll just send me over the stuff. I'll get an agenda in, and
Yeah.
I'll get a link out to everyone. That's great. I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Can I get a
Second.
second?
Sure.
All right. All in favor? Tenio, I. Liana,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Brendan.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Thanks. Bye.
Mm-hmm.